Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Oli Davis, and today we are going to be undertaking our latest round of fantasy booking warfare, and it's going to be about Kurt Angle's mystery scandal. What can it be? We've got our own fantasy booking scenarios, and we'll be going head to head, and of course you will vote on that. If you want to go straight to either mine or Luke's pitches, click the links in the video stamp time thing. Click the video stamp time. Click the time video stamp.
Click the timestamps.
Click the timestamps in the video description below to be taken right there, or stick right here just for a moment where we're going to be talking about our new favourite TV show. Don't worry, it's wrestling themed. It's Glorious Ladies of Wrestling on Netflix.
Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
What did I say?
Glorious.
Glorious.
Got Bobby Roode on the mind.
Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling on Netflix. I suddenly feel like I'm doing an advert.
I was going to say, so we've
That's weird. We're not paid for this at all.
No, but okay, so let's...
My favourite thing that's happened this week.
Let's skip on through that, because you and I haven't actually had a chance to talk about this yet. So
No.
you're enjoying the show then?
So I started it last night because we have been watching The Handmaid's Tale in my house, and my lady partner was a bit emotional yesterday. We couldn't quite take on the gruesomeness that is The Handmaid's Tale. So she was like, well, why don't we do Glow? I've heard some good things about Glow. I'm like, hot damn, I love Alison Brie. Mm-hmm. I've loved her since Community, who I'm... I can't even talk when I think about her. So I was like, yeah, and I love Mark Maron, however you say his name. And of course, it's a wrestling-themed show. I know there's a few cameos in it. So yeah, let's give the first episode a spin. I thought it was going to be like an hour-long deal. The pilot was over in 38 minutes. I was like, I'm not going to be rude to turn this off now. Auto-played straight into the next episode. I was like, you know what? Let's do a third. And I know this is normal practice for you.
Yeah, it is.
You all sit there for days, not pressing anything, just watching stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't binge that much.
I was going to say, classically, my lady partner and I, it was after the last year's Golden Mile. I hung over on the Sunday. At about 2:00, we decided to start watching Stranger Things. And by the time we'd gone to bed, we'd finished the whole series.
Yeah, that's insane. The Golden Mile, by the way, is coming up soon.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can make this.
So this is a yearly pub crawl that me and my friends have been doing for the last 5 years, Luke included, because it was originally Edgar Wright themed.
It was Edgar Wright
But
themed,
then my home friends took it over.
You usurped me from my position.
You just couldn't handle the drinking games.
I couldn't handle the drinking games, but I'm still one of the only people to actually complete the Golden Mile.
There's a few now. I'm obviously on that list. I did it. A lot of people claim I didn't have my final pint because I disappeared, but actually I was just looking for people in the women's toilets and I got checked out.
If a tree falls over in the woods and no one's there to hear it, did you actually finish the pint?
I'm pretty sure I did. It's 12 pints in 12 pubs over the course of 12 hours. It's brutal. Anyway, Glow. I think I like it.
Yeah. So I'm about 8 episodes in.
Jeez.
And
so I'm only 3, remember?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not going to be heavy on the spoilers, but I'm really enjoying it. It's a really, really great show. I'm like you, big fan of Alison Brie. Orange is the New Black is probably my favourite Netflix show that's not based on a Marvel character. So the same creative team working on this. I'm like, yes, please give me a load of that. Also, been a long time fan, crush-wise, of Kate Nash. So
yeah, I didn't even know that was her until today.
Seeing Kate Nash in this, I'm like, oh man, I mean, my heart's a flutter every time Kate Nash comes on screen. And it's great to see Awesome Kong in an acting role. And
I haven't seen her in it yet.
You have seen her. So, of the wrestlers, the big black lady at the back, that's Awesome Kong.
You are kidding me.
I'm not kidding you, that's Awesome Kong.
Oh, I did not pick up on that.
No,
that's
because
insane.
she's lost so much weight and she looks so different now.
The lady who puts on the big fur coat?
Yes, yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow, she looks totally different.
Totally different. I'm so pleased for her as well. So I'm a big fan of Awesome Kong.
Well, I didn't know I've seen Awesome Kong, but now I do. I've seen John Morrison.
Yep. Johnny Mundo was in there.
Johnny Mundo, Mr. Donald Trump.
Funny enough, I didn't know that wrestlers were actually going to be in the show.
Oh, you must have popped.
So as soon as John Morrison, I was like, oh my God, it's John Morrison!
Yeah.
And then as correct, I was like, Johnny Mundo, I think you'll find actually.
Yeah, my lady partner said, are you going to tell me every time a wrestler appears on screen? I was like, yes, I am.
Yes, I am. My lady partner did these ads, and I was like, oh my god, it's Johnny Mundo. And then there's another couple of wrestlers. She's like, babe, wrestlers are going to be in this show. You don't have to tell me every time they're there.
I get excited.
I get excited. So
who else has been in it?
So I've seen Brodus Clay.
Really?
Carlito.
We've got a Brodus Clay right here.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Carlito.
Yes.
Frankie Kazarian.
Carlito gets everywhere.
Christopher Daniels.
Oh, wow.
Joey Ryan.
Yeah, I heard Joey Ryan was in it.
And Alex Riley.
No, Rage.
In a speaking role.
Well, that's so strange.
I know.
Of all the people.
And he does some wrestling as well, but he's in a speaking. He's a featured character within the show.
Damn, that's so weird.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Because Christopher Daniels has done acting previously.
Yeah,
that's quite a passion of his.
So when I say that Daniels and Kazarian are in it, do you remember that episode of the 70s show, or that 70s show, where they go to the wrestling?
And The Rock plays his dad.
The Rock plays his dad.
Yeah.
But when they're actually watching it, like Matt and Jeff Hardy are having a wrestling match. But it's not really. No one was really going like, "Oh my god, it's Matt and Jeff Hardy," or like the viewers are meant to be like, "Oh my god, it's the Hardy Boys." Kazarian and Daniels are in that exact same position in Glow, so they go to watch a wrestling show, and then there are two.
And they watch Ring of Honor from 2017.
They watch a bit of Ring of Honor, and so they are having a match midway through.
Okay,
but you can see Daniels do the best moonsault ever.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it is a fantastic show.
Spoilers, he wins.
Based on a true story.
Yes.
A lot of poetic license.
So, what is your knowledge of the original Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling?
I watched 5 minutes of the original pilot on YouTube today.
Oh, really?
It is crap. It is.
It's quite enjoyable crap, though. It's like it's the same as WrestleLicious. It was, it's
oh yeah, but you enjoy that stuff. I think it's just crap.
Yeah,
I think it's dated horribly.
I was a big fan of WrestleLicious.
Yeah.
As soon as they released that theme song, I was like, "Oh my god, it's Glow all over again! This is great." And bear in mind, I'm not a fan of Glow. Like Glow it's a terrible TV show, but there is, like, looking back on it, it's quite joyously wonderful, really. And there's a really, really great documentary on Netflix that was the basis of the TV show. So so they did this documentary in 2012, and they did a lot of interviews with all the people from the original series, because they did 4 series in the end. So most of the original cast. Do you know who was one of the original cast members of Glow? Ivory.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And so then they did this documentary. Netflix really liked it. They were like, "Oh, we could do a TV show based around this," which is where this Glow thing has come from now. And they have taken a lot of, as you said, it is loosely based on. So the idea that it is a TV show based around women's wrestling, that's true. Or that's based on it. They all live in the same area and they all train in the same, like, dingy place. That's true. And the characters are sort of based on the characters they portray in the wrestling show, as opposed to the actual people playing the wrestlers. So like they've got Machu Picchu in this one.
She's
in Glow they had Mount Fuji.
Right.
Was that character. They also had the Russian in there and Americana. They had a British wrestler called Godiva, I think her name was.
Lady Godiva.
Yeah. And actually, have you seen the ones playing the 2 old ladies?
Yes.
Yeah, so they were characters in the original Glow as well.
Oh, wow.
Like similar, I think they were called the Housewives, and they changed their name to Spike and Chainsaw. If my memory of the documentary is fresh. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far, and it is, like, very loose with its licenses. Have you seen The Robot yet?
Yes.
As soon as
drugs in its tummy.
As soon as a robot came out, I was like, yeah, I mean, they're not taking the show very seriously.
Yeah.
But
So it's very funny. It's got some feels up in there as well.
Yeah.
I would argue serious feels.
I mean, some of those feels like get real.
I get
hardcore.
feels.
Yeah.
So it is a certified Goldblum. So go and check it out.
I'm really digging it.
So I'm not going to end this segment saying go and check it out, because I feel like I'm being paid to do it
exactly.
again.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to
I'm trying to be genuine.
I was trying to make it more conversational, being like, I'm really enjoying it so far.
Should we just end it wherever? So this is probably the real reason you came here after 10 minutes or so of waffle, rambling, Glow chat.
Us reviewing Glow that neither of us have finished.
Yeah, and various people we're attracted to who act in it.
Bearing in mind, actually, I'm probably going to have finished this series by the time this airs.
I believe I will as well.
Yeah.
So we are now going to Fantasy Warfare Book, Kurt Angle's mystery storyline on WWE Raw.
What are his texts?
So this is different to what we've had recently, because all the other fantasy booking warfares, it's like book Broken Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt, book Asuka's main roster debut. Stuff that hasn't happened and has no backstory. I would argue this is the first time we've done one where we have to work within the confines of what WWE have already written.
Yes.
I.e., we are backed into a corner and are doing what we can with what WWE have already written.
We are one of the 27 writers in a room where they're just like, this is the story we've set up, give me a finish.
And now we're pitching it. So this ties into both Leo Mercy and Kevin Fisher, who have emailed in to request this scenario. They say, hi, fantasy book Kurt Angle's WWE in-ring return. Thanks. P.S. I love your videos and podcasts. Got to get it in there, haven't we?
Absolutely, yeah. What's the state of the podcast?
Should be, actually, it might be available now.
Wow.
I finally got my login, so it's just a case of popping it up there.
Excellent.
Yes, so
That's what she said.
I'm going to go first. I'm going to give my scenario of how this is going to go.
Okay, so I am looking away from the screen. I'm going to be focusing just on you.
I've got my notes down here. So remember, the Kurt Angle mystery. Kurt Angle comes back to Raw as the GM. Vince McMahon introduces him, the Raw after WrestleMania. And then on May the 29th, you get this Corey Graves bit, the scandalous information, Corey Graves says. And Kurt Angle looks at his phone and goes, if this is true, it could ruin me. And you're like when we text each other last night, we're like, what should we do for Fantasy Booking Warfare? Let's go for Kurt Angle's return. And I was like, well, that would be easy to do, right? And then this is so, because that line, if this is true, it could ruin me. What could it possibly be? Like, you don't want to go, oh, I'm not actually American. Oh, I've got to give all my Olympic gold medals back. Like, I wrote down a list of everything that's Kurt Angle and had to cross off each bit.
I was going to say, I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit here. I really struggled with this week's one. I'm not feeling that confident about the storyline that I've written. I know you're feeling pretty jazzed about yours, but
well, I mean, you've got to. Maybe it might fall apart when I read it out loud, which sometimes happens. But
I'm not saying this is going to be a cakewalk. Yeah. It's not going to be like week one when we did this, and you did the fantasy, the New Day. And I didn't actually know what the concept of the show was.
So this is...
Tell me a story.
Yeah, I'll tell you the story. I'm rubbing my legs here. I'm worried now. I've got sweaty palms. So this ties in to what I think is one of, personally, my favourite ever WWE storyline from my youth, and one of the most intriguing accidental lines that was ever used in a promo, and has never been touched again. I think I was thinking for ages, like, what can I do to make this storyline work? And these two came really quickly. It was like, oh, I can retcon it all together, Jeff Johns comic book style. Anyway, okay, so you've got a 6-week build from Great Balls of Fire to SummerSlam.
The Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view.
The Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. I only have 5 weeks, so let's just ignore the post Great Balls of Fire. So week 1, Corey Graves goes up to Kurt Angle and he says, look, you've got to do something about this scenario. I'm getting the text, the blackmailing thing, the thing that can ruin you. Otherwise, if you don't do something, the blackmailer is going to release the information. And Kurt's like, oh, I'm working on it. Just leave me alone, Corey. But Corey says, you're not working on it hard enough. And I've contacted Stephanie McMahon to tell her that you're in trouble and she needs to get down here. And Kurt's like, you went over my head. And Corey claims he's doing it for the good of the company. Like, man, I'm just worried about WWE because this is big. And you're like, oh my God, what can it be? But really, Corey Graves is just playing it for himself. He's just doing this for some backstage progression. It's all a facade when he says, I'm doing it for the greater good of the company. Really, it's just his own career. Yeah, the greater good. So week 2, because now you've got the tease that Stephanie McMahon is going to turn up the following week. On week 2, Stephanie McMahon turns up at the start of Raw, does the old limo, oh look who's arriving shot before anything gets going. But Kurt Angle avoids her for the entire night. Stephanie finally tracks him down, and Kurt reveals the scandalous information is that someone hacked his emails and they've got hold of sensitive data. And Stephanie's like, she's very concerned, and she's like, what kind of data? And Kurt just goes, nods silently, very subtly, and Stephanie looks worried and walks off. And then Corey Graves walks into shot and says, when are you going to tell her the real blackmail? So really, Kurt's just fobbed it off. But Stephanie kind of has an inkling of what it could be. Okay.
And she doesn't watch back on Raw, so she doesn't know that Corey Graves came in and said those lines.
Exactly. Yeah. So then week 3, Stephanie McMahon is shown arriving at Raw. Again, first shot. She gets out of the car. And then Triple H gets out of the car.
The return of Hunter. The game is back.
It's serious. That's how serious what Stephanie thinks it could be, is that Triple H has got out. And then so does Vince McMahon.
Uh-oh.
The whole McMahon-Helmsley regime have just gotten out a limo.
The regime.
And they don't look happy.
No.
They look grave-faced. Now, they tried to have a sit-down chat with Kurt Angle, but this Raw has just gone off the rails in a controlled chaos storyline way, not just how it usually is. And because Kurt Angle's so preoccupied with whatever's going on in his personal life, he can't control the wrestlers. There's brawls going on all over the place. They try and have a sit-down chat, but a Lesnar-Strowman brawl erupts because they'll be having a match at SummerSlam. And then near the end of the show, Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns just chuck something together. They have a brawl as well. The McMahon-Helmsley regime walk down into the ring and they're like, look, Kurt's holding back Reigns after this brawl. It's like, come on, get in the ring. We need to talk about this. Of course, not in private. McMahons don't do things in private.
Got to do it in the ring.
In front of everyone.
Squared circle.
And Kurt's like, I've got to deal with this. I've got to deal with this. Corey Graves stands up at the announcer's desk and says, Kurt, he hasn't really been hacked. Again, Corey's trying to do it for himself. And Kurt can't get his words out. And Corey stands up and says, all of this, the blackmail, is to do with compromising images of Angle and a high-up WWE official.
It's Linda.
Everyone looks worried, confused and angry. And then Corey says, it's images of Kurt and Stephanie.
Oh, no, you're calling back to a 2000 angle.
This is my favourite
storyline. The love triangle.
Yeah.
Which actually culminated at SummerSlam.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Well, it was dropped at SummerSlam.
Yeah, it was dropped at SummerSlam.
When Triple H was like, no, we're not running this.
Yeah.
The images aren't shown, but Kurt looks mortified that the information is out. And Stephanie looks like mortified as well, because they're old images. Where I've lost my place. Like Kurt's yelling at Triple H that it was a long time ago. It was even before he was fired. This was like he joined his last run of the company. And over a decade ago, but Triple H is incensed. He's furious. And Stephanie goes to stop him from getting out the ring to attack Angle. But Triple H, his rage, he just pushes her down. The cerebral assassin has lost it. Now he's just acting on impulse. And Angle's screaming he's sorry as Triple H gets closer face to face. Vince is now trying to separate them. Triple H closed fist punches Angle. Angle falls out the ring. And then Kurt just walks off pleading that he's sorry. Triple H is so angry, but then he sees that Stephanie's knocked to the ground. And that was his fault. And he goes to help her up. But then he goes and walks off. Right. So that's how week 3 ends. Now week 4. Triple H interrupts the open. So you've just got a match going on in the ring, cold open.
Mm-hmm.
Triple H just walks down,
nice,
pedigreeing the crap out of people. And he's taking out jobbers left, right, and centre, and demands a face-to-face with Angle. But Kurt Angle doesn't show up, so Triple H is running roughshod the entire night, tearing up the backstage areas. Again, he is no longer the cerebral assassin. This is what they've got to play out. The guy who always had a handle on things. This is the one thing that could break him, and it's his wife. Even though it's, a decade old, it's just this has got him. It was still cheating on him, even though a decade ago. It's just rage. And then Triple H goes after Corey.
Alex Riley rage.
Yeah. He manhandles Corey Graves, screaming, where do you get the images from? Who's the guy? But they get pulled apart. Security break them up before Corey actually gives in. And then at the end, Kurt appears via video link. Still kind of a face. Because he's really apologetic, but he's like, look, I am not coming down there. You are a man unhinged right now. I'm not coming anywhere near you. And Triple H is like, well, we've got a match at SummerSlam then. You have to turn up for that. And everyone's like, oh, shit, against me. So that's the end of week 4. Week 5, the whole show is building up to Kurt's apology segment. That's the main event, because this is like Kurt's way to try and get out of the Triple H match, because he's like, I am so sorry. He's still, playing up the good guy role. But Triple H comes out before Kurt, and he just stands there, and he's like, I want to hear this face to face. You come out here. I'm not going to sit in the back for this. You tell me what you have to say. And Stephanie comes down saying it was so long ago. That is actually why she got rid of Kurt in 2006.
That's a nice little retcon.
That's actually the reason he was let go.
I like that.
Then Angle comes down, but doesn't get in the ring. And Angle's like, he's backing up everything Stephanie's been saying. He's saying, I'm so apologetic. Kurt nobly accepts the SummerSlam match. He's like, if that's what you want, I'm the man who's made the mistake. I've got to live up to my mistakes. I'm accepting the match. It was a stupid mistake. I was in a bad place at the time. It ruined my career, but the problem is, Stephanie, I still love you.
Oh, soap opera brilliance.
And then Stephanie's shaking her head like, no, I don't love you. And Triple H's like, you mother... and gets out the ring to chase Kurt, but Kurt runs away. And you're like, oh my God. Like, what's going to... Like, that's the go-home angle. You're so hot. Like,
well, that's your problem. You've done a go-home angle.
Oh, yeah. So you go home Kurt. And then that Sunday, like, I mean, I want to see this match now. SummerSlam comes around. They have an absolute blood brawl of a match. I'm talking, you got to get the colour out for this one. Sledgehammers. But Stephanie comes down to beg forgiveness from Hunter. And that's when when Kurt hits him with the sledgehammer. It's just referees down, I don't know. And Kurt Angle wins. Right. So that's sort of like the thing. However, there is multiple strands that come off of this afterwards because it actually... I won't get into that yet. So Vince McMahon now wants to know who the mystery blackmailer is because that's still a big unanswered question.
I was about to say that's an unanswered question, yeah.
You stretch this out for a few episodes, but eventually it is revealed to be Shane McMahon.
Son of a bitch.
And his lockbox. This was one of the things in the lockbox. Do you remember this?
No.
So when Shane McMahon came back and he was trying to get control of the company.
Oh, yeah.
And they had that promo and Vince McMahon had a really weird line that didn't seem like it was meant to be in there. And just like, I want the contents of that lockbox.
Yeah.
And everyone at the time was like, oh, it must be the deeds to the company. Like if Vince dies, Shane gets the thing rather than Triple H and Stephanie. But maybe that is in there. But there's also this picture of Kurt and Stephanie kissing or whatever in 2005, 2006. And it's revealed that Shane McMahon is actually behind this, but not from a real... Like, no one's a heel, no one's a face here. They're just people acting on emotions. Shane McMahon wants to genuinely save WWE from Triple H and Stephanie. And he thinks the way to do that is to get rid of them. He says if you don't want him to release the images, reinstate Kurt back on the Raw roster. Corey Graves is now sort of acting as... Corey Graves, now having gained favour through nefarious means, starts his own offshoot managing faction while still staying on commentary, like a sort of Bobby the Brain Heenan thing. So you've got that going on there, and it all... So Shane's got good intentions, it's just the way he's going about it is awful. And he can even have like bits with Sami Zayn where Sami Zayn's like, I hate those guys as much as you do, but that's dastardly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it all builds to Triple H versus Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 34, which I think has always been the big money feud there for me. So that is...
Oh, very good, mate.
That is my absolute soap opera-tastic...
Love it.
I wanted to do one that didn't result in masked men.
No, I was going to say, that is your usual go-to. I was waiting for the mystery man to show up.
Yeah, no
I thought you were going to hold off on who the blackmailer was, because...
Oh, and just leave it there. Learnt my lesson last time. Anyway, that's my one. The poll will come up very shortly, but now let's go on to Luke's.
Okay, so one of the things that you and I actually said, well, when I came into the studio, we were talking about like our kind of takes on this whole thing, and you said you were trying your best to avoid using Stephanie and Triple H, but the problem is that's more or less the only route you can go down. And I think realistically that probably is the route they're going to go down at some point. So unfortunately, I also have Stephanie and Trips in mine.
May I also say a disclaimer that I know there's no chance that is ever going to happen. There's no way Triple H is going to do a Kurt Angle cheated with Stephanie McMahon on me storyline. So, but it's just, I think that's the money. Anyway.
Okay, so mine is...
Okay, I'm looking forward to this.
Mine is slightly different to yours. On SmackDown, it is revealed that American Alpha were indeed the attackers on the Fashion Police's office. And it builds up this big American Alpha heel turn where they feud with the Fashion Police going into Battleground, which they win in very, very convincing manner. And then they start running roughshod across SmackDown, winning the tag team titles, and they also bring in their third member, Shelton Benjamin.
Nice.
And they basically form this unit that keeps running interference in matches, and Shelton Benjamin eventually wins the United States Championship. Over on Raw, more seeds are shown between Angle and Graves. Now, this is all building up to Survivor Series. So we've got weeks and weeks of American Alpha and Shelton Benjamin over on SmackDown, and you've got weeks and weeks of Angle and Graves on Raw. So it builds up to SmackDown. Angle is coming out for a promo. He's coming out to talk about his time on Raw. Because he's got, he said, I've got to go in for an appraisal review very soon. So I wanted to come out and talk about how great it's been being general manager on Raw. This is when Stephanie makes her shock return. So during Angle's promo, he's there going I've done this great job, I've done this. We had the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. And then Stephanie makes her shock return. She comes down and she said, Angle, I know what you have done. And you're right, this will ruin you as general manager. Graves steps in and said, I tried to warn him. I tried to get him to stop. But he said he'd fire me if I kept trying. And he's basically trying to save his job now. And so Steph then also brings down Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan and says, we need to have this conversation about what Kurt's been doing. And it turns out, it's revealed, that Angle has actually been working with this new American Alpha unit as his moles on SmackDown in an attempt to destroy SmackDown's credibility. Because Stephanie had said to him when he signed up for this, or when he signed up, it's you have to do everything within your power to beat SmackDown in the ratings. We need Raw to be the better show. So his plan was to create this unit on SmackDown as his moles, to start destroying things, so Raw then seems like the more controlled and better show. Because he's been colluding with talent across brands, he has breached his general manager contract, which is why he said it would ruin him if it got out. And Stephanie fires Kurt Angle as GM of Raw and reinstates herself as that. On Raw the following night, American Alpha with Kurt Angle run out during the main event and lay everyone out. And we now have this new unit of American Alpha, Shelton Benjamin, and Kurt Angle as their manager and mouthpiece. And so they run out on Raw. They're SmackDown guys. They've done it on Raw. They then do it on SmackDown as well. They are now a super heel unit that doesn't have a home, and they're just nomads. They just want to run. They just want to cause trouble in space, because Angle doesn't have a job now. He's not employed by the company. This also turns Kurt Angle heel, and it turns Stephanie McMahon babyface, which she hasn't been in. Well, actually, she hasn't been since she debuted in 1999. So it really freshens up. Actually, I know she might have a babyface run in 2004, but it freshens up her character. She hasn't been a babyface for ages. And the last thing we need is Stephanie McMahon to come back and just be Stephanie McMahon again. And it actually freshens up Kurt Angle as well, because Kurt Angle's a bit weird as a babyface, and I think he's better when he works as a heel. So that makes everything seem a little bit better. So Shelton also wins the Intercontinental Championship, so he's now Intercontinental and US Championship, and American Alpha win the Raw Tag Team Champions. So they are this huge unstoppable unit. Stephanie needs help, but because she's been horrible to everyone over her years as a heel, no one wants to help her. Everyone wants to defend their brand, but no one wants to help Stephanie in all of this. So Angle says that his team will stop attacking shows and will even relinquish all of the belts that they have won, fair and square, as long as he gets his job back. She says no. And he's like, well, who's going to stop me? Time to play the game. Out comes Triple H making his shock return. And this leads to, at WrestleMania 33, the American Alpha unit, 34 then, the American Alpha unit versus Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Cassius Ohno, and Kurt Angle versus Triple H.
Wait, say the Seth
Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Cassius Ohno against American Alpha and Shelton Benjamin.
Nice, the original Shield.
Yeah, that was my thinking. The original Shield. Yeah. I was thinking of doing it actually as the Shield, but it only really works if you do it as cross brands.
Sure.
What I'd like to have done is really like had someone from Raw, someone from SmackDown, and someone from NXT, because it'd been kind of great if like American Alpha were running roughshod and NXT as well.
Ah, imagine that.
Yeah. And then Angle versus Triple H as one of your main events. So as I said, it was one.
I like that.
It was one I wasn't as confident with because I couldn't think of a decent until I was trying to think of the American Alpha Angle connection.
Yeah, that's good. Damn. That's good.
Sorry, I think yours is better because you got the big soap opera.
Soap
operatics to it.
I do. I don't want to blow my own trumpet. But when Kurt reveals that he actually still in love with Stephanie,
that's it. That's the key angle.
I thought it's really nice and human. But yes, there's a poll, hopefully, if I've remembered to do it, that's just appeared on top of our heads. It will be a little eye symbol. I think it's actually, you can click it any time during the video, actually, and it'll show up there. So you can vote for either myself or Luke for who you think won Fantasy Booking Warfare, and we'll reveal the results on the next episode, which will be Monday, which is when you start full time.
I do. I finally start here.
Yeah.
My time. Your time is up. My time is now.
Both that time.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Both
our times. Yeah.
Because some people like, where's Ollie on your videos, and then on my videos they're now like, where's Luke? Can't we just have everyone? We just
want to all be friends.
There's only two of us. So yes, that's all we've got time for today. I don't know why I'm slapping my knees so much. I feel like that's been.
It's good.
I want to cut that out.
You're like Jimmy Wang Yang.
I don't want to slap my knee anymore. But that's all we've got time for today. So click the videos that have just appeared over Luke's face to catch up with the latest episodes of WrestleRamble or the WrestleTalk news. Support WrestleTalk on Patreon, subscribe, and this has been Luke Owen.
Hello.
I've been Oli Davis, and that was Rambling.